The Foul Territory Spring Training Tour is engineered by Fastenal. We keep running. AJ's hustling. By the way, check out more information at fastenal.com, FASTENAL.com. They're also unveiling the calendar for us. We're taking you on the AJ Tour. We started with the Royals last week, a week ago from today, and now we're in Reds camp today, tomorrow with the Cubs, Diamondbacks on Thursday, Giants on Friday. By the way, for any of the teams that we're visiting, if you want us to talk to someone specifically, please let us know. Comment on this video on the VOD, not on the live. On the live, I'll see you, but also comment on the video once this is officially posted and not live anymore. Also, you can send us a direct message on Instagram. We're looking at what AJ's view is of Reds camp right now. Looks like a beautiful day out there, AJ, for a team that I think you keep reminding people about. Many people forget. It was a very successful year for the Reds. They made it back to the playoffs. They ran into a buzzsaw, but overall, the Reds made a nice step forward.
Yeah, they made the playoffs. People just don't want to remember that the Reds made the playoffs because of the way that it ended with the Dodgers series, and they got pushed out in 2 quick games. But 3 teams from the NL Central made the postseason last year: the Brewers, the Cubs, and the Reds. Now, you could say it was the Mets that collapsed or whatever. This team made the postseason. They go out, they sign Geno Suarez, they bring back Emilio Pagán. They the lefty Caleb Ferguson they bring in. They got rid of Gavin Lux, brought in in a trade. They made some other moves. They tried to sign Kyle Schwarber, it didn't work out. They're doing things. They have Tito Francona, who we'll talk to later. They have some things up their sleeve, and I really like this team. And we've been saying for a couple of years now, they can keep pushing, especially if Lodolo, Ashcraft, Abbott, Brady Singer, those guys are healthy. And if Ellie De La Cruz takes that next step, man, this team can be really good.
So I want you to bottle that up, and we'll extend that conversation a little bit later when we talk about the Red season preview. We have Terry Francona coming soon. Also conversations with Emilio Pagán, Brady Singer, and maybe Hunter Green, maybe Geno Suarez. So a lot to do in the next couple hours. Also want to remind everyone that's watching today, especially looking at the Reds, Riverfront Territory is part of the FT Network. C. Trent Rosecrans covers this team on a daily basis. He's the beat guy for The Athletic, covering the Reds for years now. And Danny Graves, in the Reds Hall of Fame, part of the FT fam, is also running that show. So again, give that show some love. YouTube subscribe, podcasts, Apple, Spotify, wherever you get them. That would be great. We're not just talking Reds over the course of the next couple hours. So let's get to the headliner today.
Charging the mound.
More money for AJ's former teammate, Chris Sale. He said people were asking him about potential retirement. Scratch that. Add another year to his contract. 1 year, $27 million is the extension. That also includes a club option for the Braves to activate for $30 million in 2028. Jeff Passan originally breaking the story. The 36-year-old would have been a free agent. Who knows? He's getting up there in years, but he's still looking like prime Chris Sale. Chad Bishop with this tweet that he posted from Sale. We have a great manager, great front office, core group of players that are going to be here for a while. Good young talent coming up. Excited for that. I want to be here for that. And it gets you guys off my back asking me if I'm going to retire at the end of this year. So we're up to over $260 million guaranteed dollars over the course of Chris Sale's career. And he looks back and he remembers his early days playing catch with you, AJ.
I mean, where's my cut, Sailor? I'm going to have to call him and be like, dude, I need like a 1% of that, at least, like something, right? Because I was there for his debut. I was there when he was a closer, and now here he is, $250 million plus in the bank, living in his, big mansion down in Florida. I remember his days back when he was in Lakeland at FGCU, hoping to get drafted. I mean, he grinded through the minor leagues for all of about, 3 weeks before he was in the big league. So, he really needs to not forget about the small people and, like me, Sailor. So I'm really happy for Chris, man. Great guy, great person, just a fun guy to be around. He's been through some ups and downs, 9-time All-Star. He's got that Cy Young. He's on a Hall of Fame track. I'm just happy for Chris Sale and his family because they are good people.
I love it because the first time he ever came on our show, we asked him, you think you're a Hall of Famer? And he's like, whoa, I don't know. And now he's on his second extension with the Braves. He signed an extension with the with the Red Sox earlier. I'm not sure if he signed something with the White Sox, but to have 3 extensions in your career, to me, I think it shows obviously teams are like, whoa, like we see an opportunity to lock a guy up. He's willing to take it. We'll do it. Yes. But to sign an extension, you have to like where you're at, or you have to be committed to where you're at. Like, he was committed to be in Boston. Did that contract, once they signed the extension, work out? No. Did the first part of it work out? Absolutely. You know, he signed an extension, you know, it looked kind of odd right when he got to the Braves. Turned out to be amazing for the Braves. And in his time there, he doesn't sit there and go, man, I feel like I got screwed. Signed that extension. You know, I won the Cy Young. No, like, he just seems, because I don't know him any more than my interaction with him on our show and the different times that we've seen him live. Like, he just seems like somebody that's committed to being the best he can for whatever team he's on. And I think this is huge. Obviously, anybody says, well, he's getting up there in age. There's plenty of really good Hall of Fame pitchers that are pitching past 40. And he will only be 37 when he plays on this extension season. And it's only at $27 million. So if he goes out and stays healthy this year, he could have been looking at possibly 2 years at 27 a year. So it's great for the Braves, and I think it's obviously great for Sale, or he wouldn't have signed it.
AJ, he was hurt a lot with Boston, like Kratz mentioned, but this is a prime example of someone who is aging gracefully and aging like a fine wine. Insert whatever phrase you want to use. Sometimes I talk to people across the game that say they don't want to sign pitchers deep into their career, and I'm like, maybe not any pitcher, but if it's a number one guy and he's still got it, Chris Sale is the example of someone who's 36 years old, who's coming off a season where, yes, he wasn't 100% healthy the whole year. He gave them about 125 innings, but 2.5 ERA. His production per inning was just as good as the year before. Cy Young year, 2.38 ERA, 177 and 2/3 innings. Are there some injury concerns? Sure. Are there injury concerns with just about everyone else that has an arm that throws in Major League Baseball? Yes. I think the point here is that if you've got ace stuff like this and you can carry it, then the Braves did the smart thing by bringing it on, giving him these little tack-on 1-year extensions and maximizing value, right? They've got an ace. They've got a guy at the top of the rotation for a team right now that I think is in some depth trouble on the starting rotation front. And they have a roster crunch. Ken Rosenthal spoke about this. They have Joey Wentz and Bryce Elder who don't have options anymore. So if they pick up someone like Lucas Giolito or Zach Littell, they'd have to bounce one of those guys off the roster. So Chris Sale is needed more than ever right now. They're down Schwellenbach, they're down Hurst and Waldrop, and we are not even halfway through spring training.
Yeah, but this is perfect for Chris Sale. I mean, if you go Sale, Strider, Lopez, those guys stay healthy, that's a pretty good 1, 2, 3 of Strider, especially if Strider's back to where he was before his arm injury. Listen, I love Chris Sale, so my feelings are well known, but I think the Braves need Chris Sale to be good, and I love that they jumped in front of this because it gives him security. It gives them security knowing they'll have Chris Sale for at least this year and next year. And in 2028, if he's still pitching well, they can pick him up, and they already know what that price is going to be. So I love this. I love this deal for both parties. Now they just need Chris, Spencer, and Ronaldo to stay healthy, and that's a pretty good 1, 2, 3.
When you sit there and you look at an older player at the end, what people see is the end of his career, you say, oh, well, you know, his strikeouts are going to drop. He's not that type of pitcher where he has to throw 100 miles an hour the entire outing. He can still dial it up to 97, 98 when he needs to, but that slider, to me, that's the part that doesn't seem like it ages. And hitters just don't see that angle. They don't see the angle, and they're not picking it up. And he's still racking up a ton of strikeouts, even in a year last year when he was hurt. To me, I think it's a no-brainer for the Braves to have signed this extension.
They also need left-handed starting pitching. AJ, how important is that? Everyone else in their stable is right-handed, the guys that are hurt and the rest of the current starting staff that's pegged to begin the year. So if you take out Schwellenbach and Waldrop, who are both right-handers, you've got Strider, Lopez, Grant Holmes, who has good stuff. See if he stays on the mound, and then Bryce Elder. Those are all right-handed pitchers.
Yeah, break it up. And we did a whole thing. Remember the whole thing on how dominant lefties were last year? I mean, Skubal, you can start with Skubal and work your way down, but how there was a whole thing about how much more dominant left-handed pitchers have become. And Chris Hill, when he's right, can be as good as any of them. Maybe not Tarek Skubal just because he's older. Sorry, Sale, I love you, but I don't know if you were that good because you're just so old at this point in your life, and you're starting to get gray hair in the beard. So when I see you, I'll make sure I tell you this. But he's if he's healthy, he's still a top 5 pitcher and definitely a top 5 lefty in baseball.
So you guys got to solidify it. AJ and then Scott. Hall of Famer, yes or no?
Yes, and I'll get invited to Cooperstown. So he's 57.3 WAR right now. He's got a Cy Young. He's got a World Series. What else you got to do? He's a Hall of Famer right now. If he plays 2 more years, 3 more years, and he gets to 70, let's say he gets 4 WAR year, that almost puts him at 70 WAR. He's a first ballot guy then.
Scott?
Oh, I always love when AJ starts ripping WAR numbers. It's just fun. It shows how far we've come. No, but in seriousness,
that is how stupid it is.
But it also does help tell the story.
But I can just give an analytical answer, and that way people can't say, "Oh, you're biased toward him." Well, I can look at the numbers and say, "Listen, he's 145 and 88 right now in his career. His ERA for his life is 3.01. Okay, that's pretty good. He's got over 2,000 innings. He's got over almost 2,600 strikeouts. If he stays healthy for 2 more years, he's going to get to 3,000 strikeouts. This isn't even a conversation. Like, he's in, okay? He's in. He probably is in right now if he stopped pitching. But he's got 2 more years. If he's healthy, he's going to be over 3,000 strikeouts. This shouldn't even be a conversation.
Yeah, thanks for the layup question. But what cap would he wear in the Hall of Fame? Maybe a Braves cap if he keeps this up the next couple years.
World Series with the Red Sox.
Yeah, he wouldn't go Red Sox. So just because we asked him, remember, he didn't pitch well enough, long enough there. He'd still have more years with the White Sox. I think he might go in as a White Sox. You guys are going to laugh. Rooting for
4 years. 4 years of top 6 Cy Young voting with the White Sox. I think it's the White Sox. I think it's the White Sox. Now the Braves win a World Series in the next 2 years. He gets up there again. I don't know. We'll have to go back to the very first interview and see who asked him if he's a Hall of Famer, because I thought then he was a Hall of Famer, and I think there was a debate. I think he's put the debate to bed.
And lastly, yeah.
Hey, I asked him.
Right, I remember.
You know why I asked him? Because I wanted to ask him, and I wanted his reaction, because I knew that he would never say that he's a Hall of Famer. He just would never do it, and he didn't. He gave the perfect answer. I'm not yet, but I need to keep going. And then he goes out and dominates for 2 more years, and boom. I mean, if he has his average year, which is 5.5 WAR for 3 more years, I mean, that's almost, that's 16 and a half more WAR. That puts him almost to 75 WAR. There's no way you're keeping him out.
Yeah. He already looks like a lock if he doesn't play this season, but he looks like he has maybe 2, if not 3 years left, right? Because they did hang a club option around it, and I'm sure if Chris is feeling good, then he'll go out for another season. He's 36. Could he pitch at 39? Sure, it's definitely possible. And smart move here by Atlanta, because what they do is they've got Sale locked in now. They've got him locked in for next year. If the stuff does fall off, or if an injury hits him again, they've got the club option. So it's like, hey, you want another guaranteed year close to $30 million? Cool, let's do it. But give us the option to keep you for 1 more season after that and get that benefit of going year to year. So Chris Sale, Atlanta Brave, he's loving it there, clearly. All right, let's get to a little love for SeatGeek. Oh, I forgot. I can't keep up with myself. Hammer Territory, part of the FT Network. Brad and Scott and company going over this very extension for an Atlanta team that's gone through some tough news the first couple weeks of the season, but this is a good one, so check out the latest episode talking about the Chris Sale extension. And now let's talk about the #1 rated ticketing app. It's called SeatGeek, and what I'm going to do here each day is just run through a few reasons why you should be checking out tickets for spring training, guys. So again, today's Tuesday for Tuesday's show, but I'm looking at Wednesday games. So tonight you can go and find Paul Skeens pitching actually against the Braves on Wednesday. That's probably the one start, and then you go on to Team USA in the World Baseball Classic. Kratz's boy, I know the ticket you're getting, Kratz. Johan Oviedo, your favorite pitcher in baseball, I think is making his spring training debut for Boston against the Twins on Wednesday. Cody Ponce, making his debut for the Blue Jays, signed for $30 million this offseason. Casey Mize pitching against him. Hunter Brown making his spring debut. Nick Lodolo, as we're at Reds camp, he's going to pitch on Wednesday. And Roki Sasaki for the Dodgers. So a lot of good pitchers to look at, and you can find them in Arizona or in Florida in those spring training games. And also, AJ, of course, World Baseball Classic around the corner. So each ticket rated on a scale of 1 to 10, so you know you're getting a good deal or maybe a not so good deal, and then you can find yourself a better deal.
I think I love about SeatGeek too is people that are scheduling their trips to Florida, especially. You got to kind of figure out your drive. You can go through the schedule of when, where all the games are, where you'll be sitting. Because in Florida, you're a northerner. You sit there and you go, I don't want to be out of the sun. You'll know which side of the stadium during that game time has that. And you have a little shade if you want it. Or if you want the sun, you get it.
And of course, we have a code for you. Territory 10, 10% off your next set of tickets at SeatGeek, 10% off any tickets with promo code Territory10. Make sure you click the link in the description to download the app. Have the code automatically added to your account at that point so you can use it later. Thank you, SeatGeek. Reds manager Terry Francona is here. Tito, great to see you. Happy spring training to you. And how is camp with this young Reds crew that is coming off a playoff appearance last year in your first year at the helm?
Well, I mean, we're 2 games in, and we had an off day yesterday. So, like everybody, our glass seems half full, and it's supposed to. I think we have good reason to be optimistic. Now we're here to get some work done, get a lot of work done, and get ready for what we want to be a really good, long, productive season. And
were you worn out? Were you worn out after 2 games? You needed an off day that bad?
I just exhausted. Actually, this because of the way last year we had a split squad the first game. There's always an odd team because that's 15. I didn't, but you know what? Good, because you'll take it anytime you can get it. We were not tired yet, though.
That's good. Hey, Tito, are you guys ready to practice the ABS challenge system? Weren't you one of the guys last year in spring training where you were like, hey, why are we practicing this when I'm trying to get ready for a season without it?
Early on, I had told our guys we weren't going to use it just because we weren't going to use it during the year. And then when Michael Hill and his guys came through, they were like, hey, there's a reason we'd like you to do it. They were so good about the way they asked that we actually did use it during the spring. And it grew. I think it grew on everybody. The way they did it, the fans really enjoyed it, and it didn't slow the game down much. And now that it's going to be implemented, it's going to be a strategy. So we're working into that. We told our guys we'll work towards a strategy because it's got to be a team strategy. It can't be a per person. It can't be an emotional, strategy. So we have a month to figure that out.
Is it catchers only, hitters only, no pitchers?
No pitchers. No
catchers
pitchers.
and hitters.
I have not seen a pitcher that throws a ball yet that thinks it's not a strike. And like I said, that's the emotional one. Not that we don't love our pitchers, but our catchers, as you know, take care of the pitchers, and they really get a good feel for it.
I watched the game last night. It was the Brewers Padres, and in the first 3 innings, it was almost every other pitch. And we were at the Brewers yesterday, and they were having a sim game behind us live with some of their big league guys. And they had an umpire. They brought an umpire in, and they had the ABS going. And they said, hey, we want challenge every chance you think it's even close, just so our hitters and our pitchers. Is that the way you approach the spring with it?
We've been in our not inter squads, we don't have, but in our lives, Bill Hasselman has been sitting with the system, and the catchers will look at him after every pitch, just so we get a better feel for, okay, that ball was an inch off, that ball caught the plate, just trying to get as good at it as we can.
And how good are they? Like what's the feedback? I know it's not been long, but like when they see that feedback, how good are the catchers? How good are the hitters? And do you think this is gonna dudes are gonna be completely locked in because the zone's never gonna really rotate and shift throughout games?
Well, I think like anything, some guys are going to be better at it than others. And it's up to us to get our guys good at it because it's going to be a strategy. And if you're good at it, it's going to help. trying to figure out, do you save one to the end? Do you, like if you tell a player, hey, just use it when it's important. Well, I haven't seen a pitch thrown yet that's not important. So that's where the strategy will come into play. I'm glad, we have it here where if you make a mistake early, it's not probably, it's spring training and we can learn from it and say, okay, we might not want to do this when the season starts.
All right. I had the pleasure of being in big league camp with you in 2017 when you were the manager of the Indians. You're very intentional with a lot of things. Do you still do the player of the game the next day here now that you're with the Reds, or did you leave that? Did you leave that with Cleveland?
No, we still do it. In fact, I was thinking the other day, I was putting on some notes on my card, things I could say to the MVPs, and then we lost. We gave up a touchdown late, but no, we have fun with it. But there's, like you say, there's a reason for it. You want to reward things like base running. It's not necessarily somebody hits a home run, but we want to accentuate the good things that we think can separate us from other teams. We're always trying to accentuate that.
Okay, well, that was 2017. We're at 9 years now. Has inflation increased with your awards? Have the awards increased with inflation, or do you still give out the same dollar amount?
Inflation has increased, not in our clubhouse, not for the manager. They just might have to order one less thing at dinner.
Because it used to be $100. It used to be, for people who don't know, he would give $100 to the MVP, and I believed it was from your wallet because it was folded up in your trifold wallet, so it was like a wrinkly $100 bill. But if there was 2 MVP awards, you would split it and give 50 to each. It was something that a lot of people really enjoyed.
And don't tell our players, but now I've been giving out 50 now. But there's some days where we'll have 3, 4, 5 MVPs just because, like you say, if somebody runs somebody into an air, something like, we try to reward those types of things. And I was getting tired of losing like $400 or $500.
Oh man!
So we did make it a little less. I care about fundamentals, but not to the point where I want to be broke.
You got plenty of money, Tito.
While we mentioned Cleveland, we're going to get to your Reds players. I actually have one player I wanted to ask you about that you used to manage, who cashed out big time this offseason in Josh Naylor, made himself, I think it's $92.5 million on a contract. I remember I used to call a lot of games in the Midwest, so a lot of Cleveland games, and talking to you about Josh and about all the talent potential and the drive. And how proud are you of what he's become? Because when he first came to the league as a pup, I mean, you can explain it better than I can. I mean, this guy was full of emotions, and he was like, what do I do with them? And you helped him figure that out.
You know what? And I'm kind of glad you brought that up. We played Seattle a couple days ago, and before the game, Nails came over to our dugout, gave me a big hug, and said, thank you. And you have no idea what something like that, how it makes a manager feel. Because with Nails, like you said, he had a ton of energy, and we always were trying to get it funneled in the right direction. And so when a player comes up to you a couple years later and says, hey, I really appreciate it, man, my day was already good. We hadn't even thrown a pitch yet.
That's great. Now you're in Cincinnati, and you have a guy in Ellie De La Cruz, maybe not as emotional, but with that much energy. So how do you funnel his energy into the same thing you did with
his energy's really good. Ellie's, people forget Ellie's young. He's still learning on the job. I think last year was really good for him in a sense that he played every game. I don't think I did him a ton of favors. I think we need to manage that a little bit better this year, and I will.
We gave him an off day after 2 spring training games. So see, you're already managing.
I told him we were working on aggravating him. He's a wonderful kid. This kid will try to do anything you ask. The thing we've tried to explain to him is, with your tools, if you just do it in the confines of us winning a game, your tools are going to show through, and that's what we care about.
Is there somebody that I hate when guys do comparisons, but you've been around the game so much. Compare somebody that had the same energy. I'm not talking skill level, because I think his skill level could, the ceiling maybe higher than we can even look, but like the same energy level and what he brings in a clubhouse.
They're completely different players, but I would say like their motor, like a Jose Ramirez. somebody asked me the other day, how about managing Jose? You don't manage him. You just wind him up and get out of his way. And that's a good thing. And because other players follow him. And Ellie's the same here, where guys watch him. And even at that age, and it's a lot of extra, I don't want to say pressure, but there's some things to think about, because when he's playing the game the way he's supposed to, a lot of our guys have their chest out a little bit more, and it's real. And we've told him that.
Would you give some of your own money to sign him to an extension? Were you, when the Reds went to him and said, here's a franchise record extension, did you pull out that crusty $100 and say, I'll throw in $100
in a minute? In a minute. I mean, we love the kid. And you know what? Nobody begrudges, players have a right to either take money early, bet on themselves late. I get it. And we have him for 4 more years regardless. But that's a personal preference, and nobody will ever hold that against him.
Hey, Tito, what's with the new look body for Ellie De La Cruz? It looks like he's a little bit more jacked coming into camp, huh? He's growing into becoming a big boy, man.
He does, to me, too. Same thing with McLean, man. They look like they really got after it. And, the guys now, man, they do so good in the offseason. And I remind them of that all the time. I'm like, hey, you work so hard. There's a reason you do it. It's for the games. So don't work your rear end off and then jog down to first. That doesn't make sense to me. And I just try to remind them that all the time, because they're really good workers.
One of the things I noticed when I was with you in spring training was how intentional you set up the lockers in your locker room. Can you tell me a couple of the pods or groups that you intentionally set where you get your locker and then you have somebody around them, or you have somebody that you put in between certain guys? Is there any pods that you intentionally thought of this year that you feel like will really help guys?
No, because I actually was comfortable where they were before. And you know what's amazing? In this group here, there are no pods. Everybody's together. And, we have a 9:00 meeting every morning. And every day when we go in there at 9:00, everybody's sitting facing us. Nobody's eating breakfast. It's one of the things I noticed right away. And I love it, because when you talk to them, they're listening. And like you say, they don't have bacon or syrup going down their shirt, and they listen to what you're saying, and they're not late. And I really love that about this group.
That's an outstanding thing.
It is. And it's not a little thing. It's a big deal, because I think when you're late, you're announcing to everybody that what we're doing is not a priority. And this has to be a priority.
Agreed. You guys made the playoffs last year. And again, it didn't go as y'all wanted it to against Los Angeles. That's fine. But you did make the playoffs. How can you take the next step this year? Because I think people forget that you guys were in the postseason last year. And now you bring in Suarez. You make some other moves that are nice moves. And people say, oh, they didn't make the big splash in Schwarber. But Gino's pretty good. He'll hit you.
Yes,
for 30,
he is. Yes,
right?
he is.
How do you continue the momentum you gained last year and take the next step, which would be going deep in the playoffs?
One, I thought our guys, and by that I mean ownership and front office, I thought they did a great job, because sometimes staying in your lane is important. We kind of know who we are. You don't always make splashy moves, but they really made our bullpen a lot deeper, which for me, it really
saves your heart.
Oh my goodness sake. My goodness sake. But we won 83 games. That was not our goal. We worked, we won, we got in the playoffs. I told our guys, remember how good it felt to pop champagne that day in Milwaukee, but also remember 3 days later how much it hurt when we got sent home before we were ready. You try to take anything, whether it's good, bad, or in between, and use it to your advantage. And you're right. As long as our trajectory is going this way, I'm okay with what we did last year.
Who do you see as somebody that maybe had a down year last year, but it needs to come into spring training to show you something that normally when you look at spring training, it's like, all right, whatever, the dude hit 450, but he's getting a lot of late at bats. Who is somebody that needs to show you something for this year coming up?
Well, when you started that question, I was going to immediately answer McLean, but then you said needs to show. Matty's going to be our second baseman. I do think there is so much more in there with him, to the point, the confidence I have in him. I was probably stubborn moving him out of the 2-hole because I have so much confidence in him. But he plays the game. Even when he was struggling, you never saw him throwing stuff. He played defense. He runs the bases really well. He had that shoulder, and sometimes it takes guys some time. They can play, but they're not the same player. He showed up. He's about 12 pounds heavier in a good way, not like me. And he looks like, I mean, this guy's a good baseball player, and there's a lot in there, and we want to get it out of him.
Hey, Tito, what do you think of all of these rookie managers, this whole class coming in this year? So what did you think of the change? I mean, I know this happens usually in sprinkles, but there were so many from different backgrounds that didn't involve being a manager already in the big leagues. And do you feel like someone who has clearly a lot of dirt in your spikes as a manager in the bigs, you can have an advantage? I mean, a rookie manager, think back to when you were a rookie manager, is going to make mistakes. There's no chance they're going to be as good in year 1 as they would be in year 5.
I hope you're right. I do think, some of these young guys, they're really smart, and GMs and owners are betting on people. And I get it. Personally, I don't think I could have done it. I went to the minor leagues and that took that route, and I got to make my mistakes that weren't on Sports Center, and it worked for me. But there's something like Kevin Cash never managed in the minor league. He didn't need to. He's really good. Like I said, I don't think I could have done it, but they're betting on people. And I know the guys I've talked to, they're pretty impressive. So it keeps us going, because I know if I just stay like, well, this is what I've always done, that's not going to work. We got to keep working at it. They're going to pass us right by.
All right, what's the one thing from your year off that you miss the most? Because when everybody's off, everyone asks, what do you miss the most from baseball? What do you miss most from your year off?
Okay, so originally I didn't, and that probably spoke volumes that I needed the time off. But the 9th inning, man, is like a drug. Like, I mean, I'm telling you, man, it's like your heart's in your throat, and you think you're going to win, you're not sure how, and it's like, but when you get tired and it overwhelms you a little bit. But that part of the game, man, is, oh my God, like my hands are sweating now. Like, I love that part of the game. And when you go through with people, like, I love our kids. They're good kids. They try to do the right thing, and I like going through it with them. And so when we lose, it's not them, and when we win, it's not us. It's always us. And I like trying to figure things out with people that I respect. That's what we have here.
Awesome. We had Will Benson on the other night at the charity event.
Speaking of guys you respect.
Oh, and just guys you want to do well. I mean,
you want to adopt him.
Root for Will Benson. I mentioned to him that you managed Michael Jordan, and he had no idea. How many players do you think out there, if I went and asked, know that you managed Michael Jordan in the minor leagues? And then, because I'm going to think the number's pretty low. And then my other question is, what did you learn from MJ about leadership and winning? Because he's won. I mean, now he's winning NASCAR. He won the Daytona 500
How about that?
And then he won again.
I know.
So what did he teach you about leadership?
So I think the number when I first came here last year was really low. Now that I've been here a year, they've kind of heard it at times, but I think the number is probably still pretty low. As to what I learned, I didn't even realize at the time, AJ, I was trying to survive. I mean, you're in AA. You're just happy the game's on radio. Now all of a sudden you got national media. You got arguably the most high-profile athlete. But he was so good. He was so respectful of our game. It made it easy to be patient with baseball, because you had to be, because he hadn't played. But you're right. I mean, I saw this guy break ping pong paddles, tennis rackets, golf clubs. I mean, winning is what he's all about. And I respected that in him, and I still do to this day.
That's awesome. Lessons in life you learn from.
Yeah, you learn everywhere you can. And I got lucky, and I know it. I was fortunate. I got put in a position by the luck of the draw, and I was really fortunate.
That's really cool. Well, Tito, we really appreciate the time. Awesome to catch up with you. Good luck this season. We'll talk soon.
Oh, you got it, guys. Thank you so much.
Yeah, that's what he said.
That's what he said.
That's what he said.
That's what he said.
Ooh-wee. Pete Crow-Armstrong's bringing the smoke. This quote, I love Chicago more and more. The people are great. They give a shit. They aren't just baseball fans who go to the game like Dodgers fans to take pictures and whatever. They're paying attention. They care. He's from LA.
He's feeling good at the plate. Good for him. Like, we heard a lot from PCA last year in the first half, and then he scuffled. We didn't hear as much. To me, this is just his personality. Like, let his personality shine through. he doesn't need to be a fan of Dodgers fans. Like that's not his team. It's not going to cost him anything in free agency. He didn't say anything bad about the organization or he'll never play there. He's saying how it is. And I think, some people would disagree with him about Cubs fans, Lee Ilya, as AJ would love to reiterate anytime that he can. I think there's an affinity for the way he plays in that city. They love him. They love the way he runs around the outfield. And I think, he feels that connection. So good for him for saying it.
Also, important note, Pete Crow-Armstrong's father is a Cubs fan. And he had 2 rules for Pete growing up. You do not like the Dodgers. You do not like the Cardinals. And we're going to flow in some comments as we're chatting. We've already had this become the topic of the day in the live chat. I have read every comment so far today up until the last minute or so, and there's a lot of back and forth. Some fans like, hey, he grew up going to Dodger games, but not being a fan of the Dodgers, so maybe he does have some experience. But I'm like, at the same time, he doesn't like the Dodgers, and there are tens of thousands of fans at games for the Dodgers and the Cubs, and I can add the Yankees to this list. And here is a separation factor for me, Kratz. What section are you in? Who are you around? In the front row? In the seats where corporations give them out to a different client every day, or their suits showing up for food, vibes, a good time, the Artie Moreno style? Or are you in sections or near people? I'm not saying there aren't people that are diehards that sit up close, but you could be around people that are spending as much as they can to go to the games. They watch every game. They consume every show on this network, right? Covering their particular team. A little bit of it is luck of the draw. Where were you going and who are you seeing? Now, might you see a few more people snapping a selfie or a photo of themselves in Los Angeles in general? I think just about anyone can be clear about that one. That's more of an LA thing in general. It's the creator influencer capital of the United States. I would say second, third, fourth, probably looking at like a New York, Miami. Yeah, that would be a pretty solid top 3 to start. So sure, do you think that maybe some people are spending a little extra time taking photos somewhere? I guess. Has it become a tourist destination out there? Absolutely, right? Shohei Ohtani could be the best player of all time in baseball history. There are people that come from all over the globe to see him and to take pictures around being at Dodger Stadium. So all of these things can be true, but to call out the dedication of Dodger fans, to me, sounds like someone who wants to spark up a rivalry, and I'm all for that. Go to LA. You're going to get booed for the rest of your life out there, and back that shit up.
All right. 2 comments, because the one, I'm not even sure which comment strolled across the screen, but when he gets to Chavez Ravine, it said, can't wait for his first at-bat. He's not going to get booed that much because very few fans actually make it to the Dodger games for the leadoff hitter of the game because, just traffic and all that stuff. But I play with a guy, you probably remember him, Scott, Dioner Navarro. He played in LA and he played in Chicago. And he said more celebrities come through the Cubs clubhouse than come through the Dodgers clubhouse. And I thought that was interesting. He said, very sneaky, people a lot of celebrities come through Chicago and they want to go to Cubs games. He said a lot of celebrities live in LA. He said, so it's not as much like that team interaction with the celebrities. They still have it because now the Dodgers themselves are celebrities. Like they don't need celebrities coming in. But I thought it was interesting that he said that. And so this is good nature fun. This is it. If he gets some boos, remember what AJ said. Nobody boos a nobody.
Although, if anybody on the Cubs said this, they could be the 26th man on the roster. They would probably still get booed. This kind of quote does really
They forget it, though. They forget it. I promise. I was a nobody. I got in Joey Votto's face. We're at Reds camp today. I got in his face during an at-bat. I got booed my next at-bat. And I think my next at-bat, I got a hit. Nobody even said a word. Nobody booed. They forgot. They forget nobodies. That's what happens. PCA goes and makes another all-star team. He comes into LA, runs all around center field, making diving catches. They're going to keep remembering him. People are going to be like, why are we booing this guy? And they'll be like, well, I don't even know. Everyone else is doing it.
He said we're in our phones too much. Everyone's in their phones too much.
He said we're on our phones too. What? Huh?
Oh, fly ball. Foul ball. AJ has talked often about how it is fun to be a heel. He's right now running around and grabbing more players for us to chat with at Reds camp. But AJ has always believed in this. He has preached this to current players, and Kratz, he has talked about this during his career. There were times when he loved being a heel. And if you don't know what a heel means, you can look it up right now on your favorite search platform. But PCA is going to have fun with this. It does bring a little attention and a little juice to a random day in spring training where there's not much else going on. So it's fun. The one thing I think people have to do is just not take it too seriously. You know, I mean,
yes.
If you want to look up John Rocker's quotes from back in the day describing his New York City experience, you can take things personally. On this front, he's saying that they're not as dedicated as Cubs fans. I think that's good, clean fun.
But everybody has a different sense of confidence at this point in the year. And the Cubs, were they a bat short last year? Were they a bullpen arm short last year? We'll never know. Is anybody saying they're better than the Dodgers now? No. Are they closer to the Dodgers than they were last year? Yes, I think so. So there's some confidence. He didn't just come up with this on his own. Like, you know, these dudes are talking. They're not talking about beating the Pirates and the Reds and the Brewers. They're talking about winning the World Series. And I know that might be in a lot of clubhouses, but I think there's dudes in there that believe it, and that conversation is happening. And to win the World Series, you got to beat the Dodgers.
If I'm Cubs brass and I see a nice first half from Crow-Armstrong, I might want to have a little conversation about an extension. I'm not saying that one quote is going to create that, but clearly this guy wants to stay here. He just called out a team, and clearly he does not want to be a part of the Dodgers in the future. Now, there are plenty of other teams that he could sign with one day in free agency. No, you think so? You think you put something like this out there before free agency and then end up signing with the Dodgers years from now? I don't think so. I mean, he doesn't like the Dodgers, and he likes the Cubs. I know he called out the fans, but still, if I'm Crow-Armstrong, I'm trying to get an extension, and I think a quote like this does throw a hint out there. I'm not saying that he had this premeditated and said, you know what, I'm going to call out Dodger fans and talk about how much I love Cubs fans, and maybe that'll turn into an extension for me. There already have been extension conversations from last year. He might get something done in spring training, Kratz. So I'm just throwing this out there for Cubs brass. If you believe in the player, he clearly believes in you and loves you. He grew up a freaking Cubs fan in LA. Lock that extension up.
I hear you. I hear you. The extension, I think it's tough because he believes he's the first half player. They're fearful of the second half player. His defense is worth an extension. His offense in the first half was worth an extension. How do you value somebody like that? You go 8 years. Does his defense and speed wear down? Does he even want an extension? Because, you know, he came from money. He was, you know, higher pick. He signed. Like, there's a lot that goes into that extension talk. So I think the Cubs need to do it. I'll be honest. Pay the man his money.
Yeah, I think he wants an extension. He might have some money. He doesn't have that kind of money. Plus, the defense isn't going to slump. He's the best center fielder in baseball right now defensively. It looks like he'll be that for quite some time. So good for PCA, throwing a little juice in there for the Cubs-Dodgers rivalry this year. What about the Dodgers-Mets rivalry? Juan Soto coming after Shohei Ohtani. This one was a little more playful, or at least it appeared that way. The quote from him on Ohtani: "He better keep doing what he's doing because I'm coming." Soto talking about Ohtani. "I already know what Kratz is going to say. Good freaking luck, because you don't pitch. So if Ohtani keeps doing what he's doing, you have almost no chance at an MVP. Not if Ohtani's putting up numbers. If he just replicates what he did even last year, and I think he'll pitch more than he did last year, he's auto MVP for the next few years. If he puts up right? 150 OPS plus, and he's DHing just about every day. And then he gives you, 15 plus starts, really, is all it probably takes to keep racking MVPs and have such a clear, distinct advantage over someone. Do you maybe have a chance if you're an all-around player, I guess? And I know Soto added the stolen bases to his game last year, but he is not going to be an elite defender. And that will knock a couple points off the old WAR number in the MVP voting.
Yeah, I mean, he had a higher WAR than Bryce Harper the year that Juan Soto could have won the MVP, but Bryce won it that year. He had a few more homers. Like, if you're just comparing, and I think sometimes like a lazy argument is you compare their hitting, and you're like, well, I think Juan probably brings a little bit more to the plate. I wouldn't even sit there and argue with you. I think Juan's OPS last year was lower, but I would say Juan's coming into what even baseball pundits, baseball front offices call your prime. I think your prime can stretch way deeper into your career, but Juan's coming into his prime. And let's say his prime is going to be his next 5 years. Juan's going to have to continue to improve. Unfortunately, we don't know much about like Tommy John surgery or internal bracing, what Shohei got. Juan, just like you said at the beginning, does not have a chance to win the MVP if Shohei stays healthy. Shohei will not have as good a hitting numbers if he makes 25 starts in a year. There's just going to be some type of drop-off that is not going to allow Shohei to have the ridiculous 50-50 seasons like he has. So Juan Soto is going to have to do something historic to beat Shohei out. And until Shohei's not pitching in a season, I just don't see how anybody else wins it.
I'm with you. I'm on board. All right, coming up next, Emilio Pagán, closer for the Cincinnati Reds. But first, we'll be right back. We're going to get into all of the nitty-gritty details about why you should switch to Mint Mobile, but I brought a special guest in for this one to alert you that you might be paying way too much for your wireless bill. Erik Kratz, can you give me the bullpen dugout phone, please?
You want to pay $15 a month? Unlimited? Switch to Mint Mobile.
You heard the man. Unlimited talk, text, and data at a fraction of what others charge.
Ready to stop paying more than you have to? New customers can make the switch today, and for a limited time, get unlimited premium wireless for just $15 per month. Switch now at mintmobile.com/territory. That's mintmobile.com/territory. Upfront payment of $45 for 3 months, $90 for 6 months, or $180 for 12 months. Plan required, $15 a month equivalent. Taxes and fees extra. Initial plan term only. Over 50 gigabytes may slow when network is busy. Capable device required. Availability, speed, and coverage varies. See mintmobile.com.
We're season previewing, and we'll talk to Emilio Pagán later. Still many more interviews to go here on FT from Reds camp. But let's talk about a Cincinnati team that made the postseason last year. Successful run for the National League Central. Sometimes it doesn't get the best rap, and that includes from us, Kratz. But if you look at last year, Cubs made the playoffs, Reds made the playoffs, Brewers had the best record in baseball. Pirates should be better this year. Cardinals should be worse this year. So first off, let's start with what happened in the offseason for Cincinnati. Emilio Pagán staying put with the team for at least one, if not two more seasons. He has the player option after this year. They do lose Nick Martinez, who's kind of a do-it-all guy for them. Zach Littell also put some nice innings together for them down the stretch. Gavin Lux is gone, but they did add some talent here. Let's start with the lineup. So some guys have actually been here for a minute now. TJ Friedel, Ellie is Ellie, and hopefully a healthy season from Ellie. I know he played every game last year, but he was, as you know, some were saying, dealing with an injury. Here it is. Noel V. Marte in there. Sal Stewart, a full season from him. The big Gino Suarez acquisition. Tyler Stevenson, still above average at the catcher spot. Matt McLean, hopefully bouncing back after, the shoulder surgery from 2 years ago. Looked like it was still holding him back last year. Brian Hayes over at third base is still one of the best in the biz at picking the ball, has his offensive issues. J.J. Bleday added to the outfield among a few others to try and fill in the mix there. Dane Myers in the outfield. So let's start with the lineup. What do we think?
Man, I have always been so high on this lineup. I love the young guys that they had in here. I've been a Spencer Steer fan. Where he ends up, where that ends up going for them, like TJ Friedel, Matty McLean, like guys that are maybe like the afterthoughts sometime for this lineup, I feel like can be that above average hitter. I mean, 100 OPS plus is average, so anything above that, I just feel like everybody in this lineup can be an above average hitter because I feel like they haven't lived up to it. How many years do you not live up to that hype and all of a sudden you lose it? Like then all of a sudden, just never, maybe he's just not good enough. But to me, I think the middle of this lineup, where it is the projected lineup, is the key here. It's not Ke'Bryan Hayes being who the Pirates thought he was going to be. He's going to be your Gold Glove defensive third baseman. To me, it's in that 5-6 hole. Right now, that's Sal Stewart. Does Spencer Steer figure out a position to play, even though he kind of got pushed out a little bit? Does Noel V. Marte kind of slide into that 5-6 hole? They have him in the 2 spot right now. But to me, Sal Stewart and Tyler Stevenson, which he'll kind of concede a little bit to Jose Trevino too, because it's one of those things that they're trying to put their best 26 guys out there. And when you do that, you don't have a consistent lineup. And I think the middle of that order is what's going to drive this team to have success, because then the lower guys in the order can start picking up the slack like I think they need to. And all of this is happening because they have a superstar in Ellie, or a budding superstar in Ellie. I don't think he's reached superstar status yet. And they brought in an aircraft carrier with low on-base percentage in Eugenio Suarez, who could hit 35 easily in this stadium.
Yeah, and he's comfy there. He's hit there before. He brings something on the veteran mix too. That's important. I think Gino's got the special sauce as a clubhouse leader. So we had this up with the lineup and the potential. I think the pitching really took a step last year. The pitching is getting so good stuff-wise that it's starting to make the park appear as if it's more of a pitching park. And that I do not believe yet. Sure, is it tilting a little bit? Perhaps, but it helps when you have Hunter Green, Andrew Abbott, Brady Singer, Nick Lodolo, Chase Burns written down for now as your starting rotation for the opening week of the season. Now, there's your bullpen as we're looking at it too, led by Pagán at the back end, Santillan, Ashcraft, Brock Burke, Connor Phillips, really good stuff, etc. Okay, so let's look at what Fangraphs projects and what BetMGM has. So BetMGM has them at 81.5. I'll take the over. I think we all did there. Fangraphs projections say 78.7 on the wins number. Let's look at where they're at in the division. We've got the Pirates ahead of them. The Pirates are ahead of the Brewers. I know we went over this the other day when we were at Brewers camp. So they've got Cubs at 86.1, Pirates 83.0, Brewers 82.0, Reds 78.7, Cardinals 75.1. What? Do you think the Reds are only a few games ahead of the Cardinals this year?
No. That gap is, to me, that's a 10-game gap. And I think I would go against you. You said you felt like the starting rotation took a jump last year. I think 2024 they took that jump. And I think in 2025 they showed it wasn't a fluke. Hunter Green wasn't healthy the entire year, and he still had a really good year. So to me, it's so hard to guess the win totals. I think the win totals could be pretty close, because one of the reasons that the teams in the 3 teams in the Central made it was because the Central sucked. The Central was not very good. So you were beating up on some of those lower level teams, and the Reds were essentially, they were a weekend away from being a 500 team. If you only win 83 games, you're essentially just hanging around 500, and then bang, they won 2 extra games and won 83. So is this team better? Yes, I think this entire division is better. Is that going to help or hurt their win totals They're going to have to grind to get to 500 this year just because everybody else is that much better. Like I was high on the Reds last year. I thought they were going to win the division. I thought it was their year to win the division. And their offense did not do what I think their offense is capable of doing. But this rotation and the things they added to this bullpen, I love it. I really do love this team. I think they're better than the Pirates.
I'm with you. I think they're better than the Pirates.
But Paul Skeens is sometimes when you have an ace and you can run him out there and you're like, dude, we have a chance to win today. They have a chance. They score 3 runs. They might win. He might win 20 of his games. You have a turnaround of where one of your pitchers is winning 20 games. And in this day and age, 20 games is a ridiculous number. When you get to 16 to 18 games, you have a chance of leading the league. To me, I think that's the part where I think Fangraphs and everybody's valuing and has that 83 wins for the Pirates is Paul Skeens is a generational type of pitcher to the start of his career. You just don't know where that's going to lead this team that added a ton of home runs with O'Hearn and Lau. And they added Marcell Ozuna. Like, they've added home runs to a team that didn't hit any home runs. So is that enough to push them over? I can't say it's not. I think the Reds team's better.
I'm with you. Better team. The Reds lost a little bit on the pitching side, but I think they've got the reinforcements there. They have really focused organization-wise on pitching, on drafting pitching. The pitching development has been excellent for them, but you've consistently seen a theme from them, right? When they have a high pick in the draft lately, they're often targeting an arm. I mean, the prime example was when they chose Chase Burns instead of Charlie Condon in the draft a couple years ago. And we'll see how that plays out over the next several years. But right now they were saying, hey, it's hard for us to recruit pitching sometimes. So let's get the best arms from the draft, often in college, and let's get them up to the show quickly to help us out.
We talk about building the infrastructure too. Years ago in 19, they took Derek Johnson, who was on our show just a few weeks ago. They took him away from the Brewers. The Brewers have since continued to make the playoffs, but they took him away from the Brewers with a long-term contract, which pitching coaches, hitting coaches, bench coaches, all those guys don't get. They're usually year-to-year guys. So when you can say, you know what, we're committing to one type of pitching coach that has now seemed to show dividends, they realize it's tough to get pitchers in, and they wanted to develop them. And so they started at, to me, what's called the ground level. And then they're drafting these guys, and then they come up with a organizational philosophy. And I think it's a total organization creating and developing these really, really good pitchers.
Good call. If you're watching this after the fact, let us know your thoughts on the Reds. Drop a comment. Let's get to Leo. BetMGM futures, 100+ wins. We did 90+ yesterday, Kratz. 100+. There's one team, the Dodgers, at -140. And then the rest of baseball is some nice plus money. Do you think there are any other teams that have a legit chance at 100+? Where do you find value here? Obviously, you're not finding value with the Dodgers at 140. I would actually recommend skipping that. Mets, Yankees, +600. Phillies, +700. Jays, Braves, and Mariners are at +800. Thoughts?
Again, I said it the other day. To me, the value on here is the Mariners. Why? Because the Mets have to play the Phillies and Dodgers. The Yankees have to play the Blue Jays, the Red Sox, and the Orioles. Like, there's just, to get to 100 wins, they're going to have to absolutely beat the other teams up, and they're going to beat themselves up. The Dodgers, I don't want to take them. We've talked about this endlessly. They don't want to win 100 games. They don't care about winning 100 games. They care about winning the World Series. So I don't think it's an important number for them. Could they do it? Absolutely. That's why the number is where it is. But if you're going to take a number here, give me +800 for the Mariners. If you think anybody's going to win 100 games, to me, the easiest route, which still is a really difficult route, would be the Mariners.
We'll have to see if there's a special, and if not, sometimes we can actually request this and see if they can cook something up within the BetMGM app. I'd like to take the field. The field worked last year. Yeah, nobody to get to a hundo.
Yeah.
We might get some mid to high 90s, but it's tough. There are a lot of good teams. You know, it's funny when you have the parity conversation, you look around and you're like, there are actually a lot of teams that are capable of winning 90 some odd games.
I mean, they'd be going against themselves because I think the Dodgers number I just looked at the other day is up to 103 and a half on BetMGM. I think you'd essentially, do you think the Dodgers, because that's where I think the money is. If you're talking about win totals, do you think the Dodgers are going to go under that, or do you think they're going to go over that? And I think that's where you would get, the field or not.
Yep, I'm with you. Hey, there's no better place to be during March matchups than Vegas. So this year, college hoops fans can win a VIP trip to the Court of Legends event featuring the Cavender twins. So you can place some sports bets and position yourself on a leaderboard to determine if you're going to win one of the 25 grand prize packages. Sign into your BetMGM account, opt into that promotion, start placing some bets of at least $10 to climb up that leaderboard. Check out more information within your app. Also, don't forget to use code FOUL to claim your new player offer for up to $1,500 on your first wager with BetMGM. Gambling problem or concern? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. We have Brady Singer from the Reds. Brady, great to see you. Happy spring training to you. Do you have any tricks up your sleeve? Working on anything special for us this spring?
Hey guys, how you doing? No, nothing too crazy. Just trying to sharpen everything, get built up, and get ready to go. But no new pitches, no nothing like that. Few mechanical changes, but no, just trying to make everything better and stay healthy for the whole year.
No, like curveball, like big slow ephus curveball.
No, I've been thinking about it though. I've thought about it for sure, but no totally new pitches. Just trying to make some other things a little bit better than they were before.
Just make your 30 starts like you do.
Yeah, that's what I'm gonna try to do that try to do it again.
How do you do that? What's it like? Because you're one of the few guys that really does take the ball every
Mhm.
That's one of your greatest strengths, and I think that's one of the greatest strengths any pitcher can have.
Yeah. I don't know. I grew up just watching those guys just make their starts every time. It's just really cool to see the guys that went out there and pitched every game and threw a lot of innings. I feel like they were, guys that teams relied on and stuff like that. And but yeah, no, I enjoy kind of being that guy that has made that starts, and just obviously thankful to be healthy as long as I have and make those starts. But yeah, just I don't know. They pay you to go out there and pitch, so I go out there and pitch as much as I can, no matter how I feel.
So they're getting their money's worth. But obviously you got free agency coming up. And is there any other way to possibly do it for you? Because people are like, oh man, this guy, he's just so much better when he only makes 24 starts. So the team's only really relying on 24 starts. Could Brady Singer come out and be like, yeah, I'll just throw 102 miles an hour, but I'm only going to make 17 starts? Like, could it be possible? Could you possibly do it any other way than what you do it?
No, probably not. If I could throw 102 miles an hour, I would try to do that for sure. But no, I can't do that. I like who I am. I mean, obviously, trying to continue to get better each and every day and work on stuff and all that, and try to put together really good starts. But I really enjoy throwing a lot of innings and making every start that I can.
Hey, Brady, talk to me last year about the pitch mix. I think you threw less sliders last year than you did the year before. So what went into that? What else did you have here? I'm looking through the mix here. More sweepers, cutter percentage went up. So what went into that, and who helps you decide that?
I brought up a four seam too. I threw that a little bit last year. It's something I haven't thrown in the past, just kind of because of my arm slot. I felt like I couldn't really, get the right grip on it and make it do what I wanted to do. But I figured out that a little bit, was able to throw that kind of up in the zone, and then the cutter was huge. Just trying to get something to keep lefties off balance there. I felt like, I could use the sinker and the slider inside and then use it away, but having the cutter kind of going into them, I was kind of focusing on it up and in like that. Really helped me a lot. And yeah, mixing the sweeper in and the slider as well, just kind of playing those two off each other, I feel like helped me a lot.
And the same pitch though? Like that's what I don't understand. Like a slider and a sweeper, they seem like they're the same pitch.
Mine or in general?
Just in general.
I mean, the sweeper has a bigger horizontal break, so
And the
it's
slider's more
more like
up to down.
more gyro, like a tighter break. That's what we're trying to do is have a bigger one and a shorter one. And usually the slider is supposed to be hard. Last year mine were kind of the same velocity, so we're trying to fix that a little bit, throw a little bit harder slider this year, and then use the sweeper as kind of a slower, bigger
Then is it a
offering.
harder slider or cutter? See,
You could.
This is like where the old school
version. Yeah, no, I'm with you. Yeah.
Like, oh, he's throwing a harder slider, or what
Right.
they call like a micro slider.
Yeah,
which is
yeah.
like a cutter.
Yeah, right.
So then you're like, oh, you throw a cutter.
Yeah.
And like, no, that's my slider. And then
The cutter has carry cut.
So you want it to upshoot.
Yeah, that's the cutter, and the slider has less.
Because I would have been all confused.
I was very confused a long time ago when all this came out for sure, but I've kind of got some of it figured out now. There's obviously a whole nother realm that I have no idea, but yeah, there's you want the slider and the cutter to be definitely different.
Is not Citizens Bank, Great American Small Park a pitcher's park? Because we had a whole segment earlier in the off season. Do you think it's a pitcher's park now?
I don't know. Yeah, no. Last year I saw that it did play like that, which I obviously enjoyed. But no, I thought it played fine last year, and I didn't see many crazy home runs that I've heard about in the past, anything like that. So yeah, I enjoyed the park last year. It was awesome. Fans were great too. It was a really cool atmosphere.
You came from Kaufman, which is definitely a pitcher's park, and you heard all the things about Great American Ballpark, right?
Yeah.
So what changed? Did you guys up the humidity in the humidor?
Yeah, I don't know. I have nothing to do with that. I have no idea. No, I have no idea. It's I think it played pretty true, and that was nice. But I did go back to Kaufman this year and pitched and gave up some really long fly balls that I thought would have been homers at Great American. So that was nice to be in that park that day.
What was it like going back for the first time?
It was great. Yeah, no, the fans gave me a little welcome back, and obviously seeing all the guys, I grew up there, I guess you could say, out of the draft and all that. So yeah, it was awesome to go back and see the fans and all the old players and get to talk to everyone. And you meet so many people going through there, all the cooks and all the people that work and all that stuff.
When you got off the elevator, because at Coffin you go down the elevator to go to the clubhouse. Did you go the wrong way at first?
No. I went over to right.
You come out, you go right to go to the home, and you go left to go to the visiting. So did you accidentally? By body,
I leaned a little bit, but I went over and talked to some of the security guys over there that have been there for a while, so it was good to see them.
That's awesome. WBC is coming up.
Yeah,
you pitched in it last time. Did they invite you this year? Did you get any interest in going back, or did you say, you know what, guys, it's my free agent year, I'm gonna stick with Cincinnati?
Yeah, no invite from them, but obviously it's such a cool experience for me just to be in that atmosphere. I mean, you're playing, you go from spring training to 30,000-40,000 fans and basically a playoff atmosphere. Really, really cool experience. All the guys that haven't done it, it's unbelievable. It was one of the
Venezuela game. I was at the Venezuela game just as a fan last year. It was one of the greatest baseball games I've
It's so cool. Such a cool way they do everything and how many fans they get, and it's just
I was like one of 10 American fans.
Yeah, right. It was crazy.
It was Miami. The whole thing was Venezuela. They had those horns blowing, and they were all waving their Venezuela.
Yeah.
And when Trey hit that home run, I actually got to stand up and was like,
yes. Yeah. That was probably the craziest moment in my career so far. Was that home run? Just the stadium erupting and just I don't know. It's just different wearing USA across your chest for sure.
So much is made about pitchers ramping it up and everything. When you pitched into WBC in 23, did you feel any different going through the year? Did you feel any extra sore early that you had to mix something up that was different because you ramped it up so early?
No, I didn't feel any difference body wise. I just think I started too early. I think if I was to do it again, I would just treat it like a regular off season, treat it like a regular spring, and just go out there and pitch. I tried to ramp up too early. I think I started throwing, a couple weeks earlier than I have in the past, and just kind of felt like, towards the end of the year and, middle of the year that I've just been throwing for too long. I didn't feel bad. I just, I think I took too long of a ramp up and should have just, kind of chilled out and just done what I've been doing.
Brady, you had to pitch longer than anticipated for an outing there in the WBC last time around. Am I correct? Was there one where you went? Do you remember how long how many innings about you had to go?
Was it the Mexico game?
It was like, yeah,
Where
it
you
was,
threw like
it was a
40,
terrible memory,
50
but yeah,
pitches or something?
yeah.
I wasn't bringing it up. Just so we know, I did not.
It's a
Well, no,
haunted
I'm bringing
memory.
it
Thanks,
up.
guys.
I'm bringing it up. There's
If you
more
remember,
to it.
that was where Randy kind of became famous for doing the.
Yeah. That was
Scott, way to go. Way to go,
Thank
Scott.
Yeah, no,
Way,
we can
way to
relive it if we
interrupt
want
me.
to, but
Way to
At least
interrupt me,
he's
AJ.
gotten over it,
There's more
Scott.
to it here. I'm trying to figure out the pitching conundrum that Team USA goes through. So first of all, Brady, at least listening to manager Mark DeRosa about this, they get Clayton Kershaw and they want him to just eat random innings up if need be. But then also, for example, yesterday we find out that Tarek Skubal is only going to make one start. It's going to be about against Great Britain early on in the tournament. So my question for you is, how difficult is it for Team USA to figure out the pitching versus some of the other countries? Some of the other countries just don't seem to have that issue, even with their major league pitchers. And so you got to see a little bit of that vibe last time around, and they were vocal about it. The coaching staff was like, it was annoying to deal with all the teams. Everybody had so many rules that we put people in bad spots.
yeah, no, I think it's really hard. I mean, yeah, you're trying to get all your players, as a GM and as a team, you're trying to get all your pitchers built up, and obviously your frontline starter guys, trying to get built up in a realm that's very hard to do that just because you're trying to win too. Yeah, I think it's difficult for sure, but yeah, I thought DeRosa did a great job, the way he handled it and stuff like that. And yeah, I threw a lot more pitches than obviously I wanted to, but I told myself going in, I don't really care what happens. I just want to pitch and, just get to be able to enjoy this atmosphere and this opportunity.
Because you lived it, is there any way that they could have handled it, or that teams can handle it differently? Like, were you part of the micromanage of, okay, a text before your start, a text before your bullpen, checking in all the time?
No, I wasn't. No, obviously, I think they're worried about it because I sat in the bullpen for a few games and obviously wasn't on the the build up that I would have been in spring training. So obviously they were worried about it, but yeah, I don't know how you fix that or you manage it or anything like that. I think it's tough no matter which way you look at it. But I think the way they did it this year with getting Kershaw and stuff like that, having someone that can basically come in after me with what happened when I threw a lot of pitches, is going to be super helpful.
All right, the Cincinnati Reds. People forget this, and it's amazing to me because we've been around a bunch of camps now, and we're doing projections for teams, and we're getting numbers that the Cincinnati Reds made the playoffs last year.
Mm-hmm.
People forget. Now, it didn't go obviously the way y'all wanted to against Los Angeles, but you guys made the playoffs. Mm-hmm. Can you guys do it again this year? And what has the team improved on or maybe learned from last year?
Yeah, no, I think learning is a huge thing. I mean, guys got there that haven't been there before, and I haven't been like a veteran in the playoffs or anything like that, but just getting there and kind of getting your feet wet and seeing how the the anticipation and the nerves and all that go is something that's really helpful when you do it again. But yeah, we're definitely a better team than we were last year. The front office did an awesome job this year with, I think, getting Gino was huge, of course, and the bullpen guys we got. And then the starting rotation is going to help and everything. Ellie's going to have a heck of a year too. And yeah, I love our team. Really excited to get going here after spring. But yeah, no, I'm anticipating the playoffs for sure.
I mean, Ellie's just that guy, right?
He's unbelievable. I mean, every night you get to see something new. I say the same thing about playing with Bobby Witt. I played with Bobby Witt and now Ellie. So seeing those two guys every night, they do something new, something exciting.
Who's better?
I can't say that.
We know.
I love
Scott. Scott's favorite player is Ellie. So
yeah,
Scott
I love both of them
so
much.
We had Witter on.
Yeah.
He's awesome to talk to. And just
they're two such good guys. They're so much fun to play with. I got to learn and be with Ellie last year, and man, he loves the game just as much as Bobby. They're just out there. They're just, I call them just little kids having fun playing baseball. It's really cool to see those guys play every night, and I'm spoiled that they're behind me every start.
All right, so obviously you played for the Royals. You just mentioned with the Royals. Did you see what the Royals and Tolbert did to Jack Caglione?
Yeah, I don't know why Jack. One, I don't know why the Gators lost. Two,
I know why.
Well, I don't know.
My son was the catcher for UAB, so that's why they lost. Okay. So
I don't know why Jack agreed to that. I would have never put that on my head.
Why not?
Yeah. No.
For you, I was there, so I was in Gainesville when they won that Friday. They got stomped on Saturday in 2 games, which is fine.
Yeah.
But they won the Friday night with Peterson starting the whole deal.
Yeah.
It was like they won Omaha.
Oh yeah, I know.
Right? So,
I believe it.
the opening of the season. So
Yeah.
listen, Jack felt sorry for UAB.
Yeah, I'm with you.
Maybe made a bet
I
that he
wouldn't have
could.
done it.
But what if you make a bet? You'd renege on your bet?
Yeah, probably.
Oh,
Yeah.
come on. You're a better guy than that.
I couldn't do
Or
it.
Listen,
No,
they're
you
really
just don't
good.
make
They're
the
going to
bet.
be really good.
Yeah,
But yeah,
Yeah.
that's what he said. But you can't
Yeah.
renege. Just don't make it.
Right.
yeah, I probably would have
Yeah.
made it. We'll start there.
Yeah, but you also didn't think that they were
No, I
gonna lose
didn't
that
think. I
game.
thought that was guaranteed, but
Yeah.
things happen. I don't think they've lost since.
No, I don't think they have.
Yeah,
either.
so we're good.
That's what
We're in
we
a great spot. We're
UAB
fine.
has a notch in their feather in
Yeah,
their cap.
yeah,
That
we'll
they're
give
the
it
only
to
team so far to beat
Yeah.
Florida. So
Yeah, the problem was that AJ wasn't rooting for them during that series. So now he's back on the Gator train. He can root for his UF and his UAB. Yeah, he's conflicted
go.
this year. He's got a second team. Brady, awesome talking to you. Really appreciate the time. Enjoy the rest of spring training. We'll catch you during the season.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you guys for having me on.
In the Weeds, engineered by Fastenal, where industry meets innovation. We've got some quotes, and we want to do a deeper dive on Pete Alonso exiting the Mets and now making an impact with the Orioles from the jump. I know it's only spring training, but we'll get to all of that. Let's start with Darryl Strawberry. Here's a guy who was a Met and then eventually left to be a Dodger through free agency after the 1990 season. He was shocked and says Pete will regret leaving the Mets for the Orioles. Here's the quote from Darryl. I was really shocked that Pete would leave New York for Baltimore. Pete could have broken all the records and could have been on top of every offensive category for this organization. And then sometimes when you don't see that and realize how important that is, one day he's going to wake up just like I did and regret you didn't stick where you are at. He said also, the biggest mistake I saw was after they lost in Miami. That was the end of the season when the Mets blew their wild card lead, that Pete opted out. Darryl said, I think if he just waited and said, okay, I'll stay at that. So stay in, don't opt out of your contract, and then ask the Mets for 4 more years, something like that, they could have worked it out. He thinks also that both sides could have fought harder in the situation. Now, remember, years back, Pete did get an extension offer from the Mets. And while you're chatting, Kratz, I'll pull it up to give you the exact number. It was a nice number, but Pete ended up making more on the free agent market. The Mets in the David Stearns era was not as into Pete. I think that's pretty obvious. And Steve Cohen has spoken recently about how he is paying David Stearns a lot of money to make these types of calls. So it was under the, give me the last GM, Billy Epler era, where they threw the extension Pete's way. He said no. He did the longer deal, but really a 1-year deal, the opt-out deal, played this out, and then hops over to Baltimore. I don't think it's fair for Darryl to call out Pete during this particular offseason when the Mets weren't in sniffing distance of what Baltimore was throwing his way and valuing him at.
The key number here is 2. 2 times. The Mets really weren't that interested in locking up this player in Pete Alonso, who Darryl Strawberry is saying shouldn't have left. Not sure why he left. Don't make the same mistake that I made. Darryl Strawberry, for kids who don't know, you need to look up his numbers. And when he left New York, it was a steep drop-off. There were other things that went into that. You never know, how things are going, but you also never know as a free agent what it's going to be like somewhere else. And I'm sure Darryl left. I don't know the exact reasoning, but I'm sure he left for a big contract. And if you're not loved where you're at, where Pete was, because they went through the free agency dance twice and they weren't willing to extend him, I think Pete kind of knew going into the offseason, look, they're not that into me. I don't see why they would change their tone. I've had an incredible career. I'm the career leader in home runs here. The fans love me. They just weren't that into him. Would they have finally matched the offer? Maybe. But did he want to stay? I don't know. He seems pretty happy. Every time we've talked to Pete, every time you see something with him, and the orange really suits him. And I think it's unfair to say, you know what? He should have just stayed. Darryl is part of the group of Mets, that old school, that old crew, that old group that won the World Series, I've never seen more of a staunch group of guys who are like, we love the Mets. You know why? Because the Mets have kept them around. They won a World Series, and the Mets have loved those guys, and they love the Mets and Mets fans. It's a reciprocal relation. It's a give and take relationship. And those guys are true blue Mets fans, and they were just ex-Mets players. I mean, you can go down the list of all the guys, and Darryl's one of them. And you never hear this from front office guys who are staunch Met fans. But these guys are not really front office, but they're not coaches. They're just strong, strong fans of the Mets. And so good for him for saying it. Like, he wanted to keep Pete around because he's useful. The front office, who's delving out the contracts, did not. They feel like Jorge Polanco and other use of their money, and Bo Bichette is a more useful use of their money, and we'll see how it works out.
2023, the contract extension offer from the Mets was 7 years, $153 million. If you count the 7-year stretch as the prior 2 seasons for Pete, plus the 5-year deal he just signed with the Orioles, that's 7 years, $205 million. It's a big difference.
I'd love to know what
and
he
that
asked
was
for
offered to
during
him in 23, right? I think if he had an opportunity to get the 153 or to get, I don't want to put the same number out there because they are very far apart. But my point is, in the last 2 years, from what we know, he didn't get anything close to even 4 or 5 years on a deal offer. It was like 2, maybe 3. So
No.
they put him in a place where he had to say no.
For sure. And the part where Darryl Strawberry said, you know, he should have accepted the opt, or not taken the opt out and then negotiated it. What in the previous offseason would have indicated to Pete, oh yeah, they'll definitely give me an extension? They could have given an extension the entire year. They could have given him the 5 years that he wanted the year before. They could have done that. And I'm not saying it's bad that Stearns doesn't want to go that long. He doesn't want those long-term deals. It's just what they want. So you're going to not be able to retain certain players. And to me, Pete Alonso was becoming a franchise type of player, not just franchise for when he's there, but franchise forever type of player. And they're willing to move on. Good for Pete for being willing to move on and going away from a place that he was comfortable in.
Yeah. Orioles value him more. It is what it is.
Yeah.
So let me explain one reason why the Orioles really love Pete Alonso right now. They feel like they made a mistake. We have many quotes coming out of Orioles camp over the last few days about how they were missing something. They brought up an exciting young core that didn't really have the Pete Alonso. And there are a number of quotes from different stories. Ken Rosenthal's story in The Athletic. There's a Baltimore Banner story. So here's Ken's story. To get the most out of their young core, the Orioles had to bring in outside veteran help. Mike Elias was quoted saying, looking back at the last couple of years, I think for our young position player group, it would have been helpful for them to have somebody accomplished from outside the organization who wasn't part of our rebuild, wasn't an Orioles draft pick, wasn't an Orioles development story. Come in and just absorb a lot of the attention on the team, speak for the team. Jordan Westberg telling the Baltimore Banner, I do think it would be good to have a personality going forward, whatever adjective you want to use, polarizing, loud, boisterous, whatever. But just something different. I think it would be beneficial. Frees people to be themselves. And then I'll finish with Tony Mansolino, who's now the bench coach for Walt Weiss over in Atlanta. He said, because he was the interim manager for the Orioles after Brandon Hyde was fired, he said just recently in the past 24 hours, we were asking a bunch of players in years 2, 3, and 4 to be superstars. And the reality is nobody has a bunch of players in years 2, 3, and 4 who are superstars. He's not saying you can't be a superstar earlier in your career, but to rack that many players and ask them to lead the team, you always hear this from people. Hey, if you want a total all-around team, it can't just be all of one thing. You need to have the blend. And it seemed like they were just flowing with what they tanked to create, and that was great, but they didn't add the icing on the cake. That's what they tried to do this past offseason. It seemed like they did that well. One more quote from Manzolino, by the way. He goes, being here, talking about Atlanta, coming out of this situation I just came from, and I don't say this lightly, I feel like he, as in the Braves, Alex Anthopoulos, Walt Weiss specifically, kind of rescued me in a lot of ways and got me over into this place and working under him, and I couldn't be happier. Whoa.
That was that. Yeah, well, I mean, Tony said it with his chest. I'm going to go back to the first thing before we hit that part of it. Tony Manzolino talking about it. Mike Elias now, like, he must have gone back and watched some of the old FTs, the old FT episodes this is what we've talked about. Was Mike Elias the guy to be able to take this team, because there's very much parallels with the Astros, who Mike Elias worked for, and the Orioles as they came up. Like, is he able to take this team to where the Astros were going? Well, the Astros went out and made some trades for some guys that were getting to the end of expiring contracts. They weren't afraid to go to get that veteran, and now Mike, hey, you know what? Now we got to do it. So it was tough to do. It was tough for Mike Elias to do it, or maybe he just didn't think the team was quite ready, or maybe the ownership changed. There was a lot of things that were going on in there, but I'm glad that they've noticed it now that, hey, you know what? A veteran leaders, different personalities, and it's not all just the same young guys, because Mike Elias saw it as, well, Jose Altuve, Correa, and Bregman and Springer, they were all young guys that came through the organization, and we won a World Series with those guys. But they also did it with a few veteran add-ons that they had on that team. Charlie Morton started Game 7. They had Brian McCann behind the dish. I think they had McCann that year. Or did they have McCann in 22 or in 21? Anyway, whatever it is, they added on. And so that's what the teams need to do. Now, the Tony Manzolino quotes that he got saved from out of there, I don't know. Rarely do you hear guys talk like this. So there had to be something that he didn't agree with. But if I'm not mistaken, he was the interim manager. And when he became the interim manager, his exact quote was, I don't know that I'm really going to change anything. When the team was struggling, if you really want to be that manager, that's your chance. That's your chance to put your stamp, your footprint on trying to change something. And so what all happened, what all went down there, I'm sure we'll hear more about it here in the next few weeks, year, while he's a Braves coach.
I think it's tough to throw a quote like that out there, and I'll read the quote again for AJ, who's back with us here the rest of the way. Tony Manzolino, interim manager for the Orioles last year, taking over after Brandon Hyde, AJ. He said, being here, coming out of this situation that I just came from, and I don't say this lightly, I feel like he kind of rescued me in a lot of ways and got me over into this place and working under him, and I couldn't be happier. That was Tony talking about Walt Weiss and the Braves rescuing him from the Orioles. To me, when you use that word, and you also said within the quote, I don't say this lightly, that means there was some shit going down. And we haven't not really heard about anything to that extent. It looked like a team that more underperformed. To me, this might have a slice of a front office disconnect. And again, I'm playing conspiracy theory game. We're a show. That's what we do. I don't think there were personality issues within the Orioles. I feel like we would have heard about that, one of us three, or there would have been something out there. Felt like a team that underperformed, that didn't stack their coaching staff with enough pitching depth, and as we've been talking about now for the last several minutes, was relying on all young core players without a Pete Alonso to take away attention and to lead the charge.
Also, maybe he's a little mad he didn't get the job after he took over. I mean, it's always that. I don't know if you guys talked about that, but there's always that little tidbit you have to throw in there. And I'm not saying that was the case here at all. I don't know what these were mentioned of, but yeah, I mean, there had to be a disconnect because I'm sure he wanted to keep that big league job. So I don't know if he went to Mike Elias and the rest of the front office and said, hey, this are my thoughts, and they disagreed. But if he says he's in a better place, how about we just say, hey, I'm in a better place now. It didn't work out in Baltimore, move on. And just when you say these things after you're not hired as the manager or if you're let go as a player, and listen, we've all been emotional, we've all been mad. You just sound like you're a little salty, right? And I don't know. Listen, I wish him nothing but the best of the Braves, and I hope everything goes well. But I don't know. You just seem a little salty when you say these things after you let go.
What about Darryl Strawberry's quotes, which we already commented on, but we can get them from you? Your thoughts on Strawberry saying that Pete Alonso is going to regret his decision. The Mets didn't offer anything close to what the Orioles threw his way.
The Mets didn't even make him an offer, did they? I read this Twitter thread, and John Heyman fired back with, "You're wrong. They never even made him an offer." So how is he going to go back? Will you just show up at camp and be like, "Hey guys, I'm back. I don't want to leave here"? Listen, Pete Alonso did that last year. He didn't leave. He came back on the 1-year deal with the opt-out. And what did he do? He had another great year. And what the Mets do? Not offer him another contract. So what's he supposed to do, Darryl? Sit there and just show up at Port St. Lucie and say, "Guys, I'm back, and you don't have to pay me. I'll just play for free." When the Orioles offered him what he offered? No, like, come on, dude. Like, it's just such a. This is just such a. I just got my number retired by the Mets. I have to do whatever they want me to say. Like, come on, know the facts before you say that. I'm sorry.
I don't even think the Mets wanted him to say that. I think Darryl doesn't really pay attention to the nuances of free agency and what is going on in the offseason. And so a reporter puts a microphone in his face and he's like, "Oh, yeah, he's going to regret that." Huh?
But he's going to go on the side of the Mets, right? Because they just retired his
no
number.
Doubt.
So he's going to always, he's going to look back at his choices. And I don't know what his free agency choices were when he left the Mets. Maybe, they were great, obviously. But he made that decision. That's your decision, Darryl. But if Pete doesn't have the same opportunity to stay, and I don't know, maybe the Mets did offer Darryl a great contract back then. Again, I don't remember. That was a long, long time ago. But Pete had a different path because, again, the facts line up, and every reporter that you see says the Mets never made him an offer. So he can't just show up. It takes two to tango, they always say, and you need the team to want you back. The Orioles wanted Pete Alonso. Guess where he is? He's in Baltimore.
Yeah, and it seems like the early impact is strong. So, theme here, you go where you're wanted. And for the Orioles, I think a lesson was learned, and we'll see if that impact plays out for this season. The one thing that could hold them back early on this season is that they're already down a couple players. I think there's enough depth for them to still be in a good position lineup-wise. I know they'll be without Westbrook for at least a month. Sounds like Holiday will miss at least a few weeks, but there are some opportunities for other guys to step up here. And they still added, like AJ's been mentioning, about 70 home runs with Pete and Taylor Ward. I don't think offense is going to be the problem. I have more questions about the bullpen. Anyway, thoughts? Let us know. If you're watching after the fact, drop a comment. Also, shout out to Fastenal, sponsoring the segment. Industrial supplies, innovative solutions. Want to learn more? QR code is on your screen, or visit fastenal.com, FASTENAL.com. The closer is here, Emilio Pagán, back with the Reds. So first off, congrats on the contract. And now you're back in spring training with a team that I know really had a great time with last year and had a banger of a season. So tell us how it all went down for you this offseason.
Yeah, it was awesome. Free agency has been fun for me the 2 times I've been a free agent, and definitely knew I wanted to be back here in Cincinnati and playing for Tito and the staff. You're right. I had a great time. Our clubhouse here is awesome. Probably one of the closest knit groups I've been a part of, which is special. It doesn't come around often. And so knew I wanted to be back on the team that, we got a taste of the playoffs for our young group, our young guys that hadn't been there before. And with our starting pitching, man, I really feel like we can make a run at the division and hopefully make a deeper run into the playoffs.
What was it like being anointed the closer? Kind of, I don't want to say it was kind of the middle of the year kind of thing, right? You kind of just took over that role. Was that different for you? And then, the way you finished was unbelievable.
Yeah, so I've always felt like I could do that role. I had a decent run with Tampa in 19 when I played with Kratzy, which was awesome, a lot of fun. But really our best 2 arms that year were, Diego Castillo and Jose Alvarado. And I just kind of got hot at the right time. They were both a little banged up. And then had another shot at it in Minnesota in 22 and got a guy by Joan Duran throwing 105. And I'm looking down like, why am I throwing the 9th inning? This guy is a cheat code out here. And so very quickly he took over that role, and we had a good run there when I was with the Twins, and then I signed here, and Alexis Diaz has been one of the most consistent closers percentage wise over the last few seasons, and he was banged up a little bit in spring training. And I got a chance to close a couple games early, and then Tito texted me and goes, "Hey, I like what you're doing. You're my guy." And so I just tried to have fun with it this time around. Not really make the role any bigger than it is, put any pressure on myself. Just go get 3 outs and enjoy doing it. And I had a blast. So hopefully I can do something similar, if not better, this year.
Is it the same? Is the 9th inning the same? Because everybody says, "Oh, it's just another inning."
No, it's not. It definitely doesn't feel the same, but I tried to make it in my head feel the same, if that makes sense. Like I tried to just my job is to go execute pitches at a high level, and if I felt like if I did that, then I was okay with whatever the result was. If I blew the game, but I felt like I threw well, I wasn't gonna be more upset than if I pitched bad and got lucky, and the hitters just missed pitches to hit. So that's the way I tried to approach it. And for me, I'm not going to speak for everybody that does that role. For me, that was the way that I could make it feel like every other inning. But there's definitely heightened intensity. There's definitely heightened nerves. I'm old enough and been around long enough now that I'm not afraid to admit that, yeah, I'm nervous running out there. But I feel like nerves are a good thing. It means that you care. It means that you're excited to go, and do the best at the opportunity you're given. And so, I definitely wouldn't have been able to admit that when I played with you, Kratzy. I was definitely trying to be the tough guy that was saying, "No, I'm not worried about it." But now that I've been around it, I don't worry about it anymore.
As the closer going into 2026, do you get a cool walkout? You mentioned Duran. Duran has one of the coolest walkouts ever.
Yeah.
Do you get one of those this year, and have you figured it out if you are?
Yeah, so I feel like the Reds did a pretty good job with mine last year, and there's definitely some talks about some stuff that's going on.
Can you give us a hint?
I'll give you a hint. Yeah, I'll give you a hint. I'm a big WWE fan, and so there's some WWE sound bites. There's some WWE music. Last year I started with Cody Rhodes, and I finished with Roman Reigns. There's a little bit going on that could make it a pretty cool entrance.
Okay, well then who's your guy right now? Sorry, Kratzy.
Yeah.
Who's your guy then? You went Cody Rhodes to Roman Reigns.
Yeah, I mean, I think Cody's got probably the best song, but if I'm sitting down on the couch watching Monday Night Raw, I'd probably say that I get the most excited when Roman Reigns is out there.
Okay, and then one more follow, Kratzy. Sorry on this, because obviously everyone knows I'm a wrestling guy. Do you like it on Netflix? Because for me, I used to like it when it was on linear cable because I didn't have to sit and watch it.
Right.
And then the commercials would come on and I could fast forward through the commercials.
Yeah.
But now on Netflix, you can't fast forward through the commercials, so you're stuck watching them.
I do like it though, because we play on Monday nights. You know what I mean? So it's like, a lot of times, Jose Trevino's a big WWE guy. And so we would finish the game and everybody would come over to my hotel room and we'd throw on Netflix and watch Monday Night Raw. So, I like that fact, but you're right. But I grew up with it on USA Network.
Yeah.
That was to me where I fell in love with it. But having the ability to go back and watch it is nice.
Hold up. AJ, we can talk offline. I can still help you skip commercials. So, Emilio, maybe you and me have something else figured out in the rest of the world.
Yeah.
No, you can. I promise you can watch that thing commercial free. I promise you.
Yeah, but how much more do you got to pay, Scott? I mean, we're not going to dig into
There we go. Well, okay, right now we're talking to a guy who just got a nice lucrative contract. So anyway, Kratz, you're up.
All I was going to say was, do you realize that you're super close to wrestling greatness? AJ has a belt.
Multiple belts.
Well, you have one real belt that you won the Royal Rumble, right? That's the...
No. So I have one from TNA that I won because I beat the shit out of a guy with a home plate. And then I was presented the ECW from Tommy Dreamer.
No way.
And then I also have the spinner. Edge is a buddy of mine.
Okay.
And so I did when they were doing the guest host, I did Raw, The Price is Right with Bob Barker, and they had me come out of the crowd.
That's awesome.
And so they gave me the Rated R Superstar when they had the spin.
Yeah. That's sweet.
So
last year I ordered a whole bunch of WWE T-shirts, and Edge was one of them.
Yeah.
And that was, I would like 4 or 5 of Edge, 4 or 5 of John Cena, Shawn Michaels, Triple H, and kind of gave him around the whole clubhouse. And so, yeah, I was a big Edge fan.
As long as you don't come out to the Stone Cold.
No, that's overplayed.
Okay,
Yeah,
good,
yeah.
good. All right, we're good.
Who would win in a cage match, you or Trevino?
I mean, I'm never going to say another man's going to beat me in a fight. Yeah, I'm going to say me on that one.
Are you a face or a heel, though?
I think it depends on the pop, like if fans, if you don't get a pop coming out, you got to go heel, right? But if you get a pop, then you got to play the face card. It just depends on the fan reaction. I think there's an art to it.
Listen, I've done both. I've played both.
Yeah.
It's way more fun being the heel.
Yeah, I mean,
right, so the first year when I did TNA, I was the face. I was the good guy.
Okay.
So I came out and I helped, and we won, right? And then
Yeah.
the next year, I got to do the heel, and I got to beat up David Eckstein and his brother Rick.
Gosh.
Okay.
Yeah.
And it was way more fun.
Yeah.
You can say anything and you get a reaction.
Right.
It's much harder to be the nice guy and get a reaction. But like David Eckstein.
Are we talking AJ Styles TNA?
Yes.
Wow.
Yes.
That's sick.
So David Eckstein wrote a children's book, and in the ring, I ripped it up in his face, and I was like, "This is garbage," and I threw it at him. And so we got to beat it.
Yeah.
We couldn't touch David because he was, World Series MVP. But
right.
we got to beat up Rick, who at the time wasn't a big league hitting coach yet, but he was my bullpen catcher when I played for the Twins.
Okay.
So I had a relationship with him.
That's awesome.
So we got to beat the crap out of him.
Yeah. Man, that's cool.
Yeah.
That's cool.
So it's much
All
more
right.
fun to be the heel.
Yeah.
All right, well, let's talk about not beating the crap out of other people and teams. You guys, your run to the playoffs last year, I was texting with House, your third base coach, throughout September, and he kept texting me like the same thing. He's like, why couldn't we do it? What was the mantra in that clubhouse? Like, obviously, you guys have to be watching the Mets and the collapse that they had. But what was the constant day in and day out talk for you guys, considering Ellie was essentially playing on one leg and you guys were trying to make the playoffs?
Yeah, I think Ellie playing on one leg was kind of a positive for us. I mean, this guy is easily our best player, and has a ton to play for. Obviously, with the news that come out, whether it's true or not, I haven't asked him, but you get offered over $250 million and you turn it down. Like, this guy's got a lot to play for, and it just shows how much he cares about our guys. You know what I mean? It shows how much he cares about this organization, how much he wants to win, knowing that, we're better on the field if he's out there than not having him out there. And so him playing through what he was playing through, there was other guys who were banged up, and you're right. We didn't ever really come to the field and feel like we were out of it. There was definitely outside noise, people that were saying that, it wasn't our year, that, maybe next year, this or that, or it's going to take a miracle to get there. We never bought into it. We felt like we had a chance to win every day. You look at our starting rotation, what they were able to do, the amount of innings they were able to cover for us. We feel confident, man. And having Tito, I mean, you guys all know Tito. Like, this guy is better than anybody I've been around in baseball at coming to the field, not worried about yesterday's results or how we're going to get through today and save arms for tomorrow. He just only focuses on how we're going to win today's game, which is a very good quality to have as a baseball player, and probably the number one quality to have, in my opinion, as a manager. Just being focused solely on today's game and how we're going to play our best brand of baseball that day. And so we never got too up or too down with the whole process of September. Yeah, we were definitely watching the other teams that we were battling with, but we tried to stay as focused on us as we could, and it worked out for us.
Talk about your manager. Talk about Tito. Like, do you have any good, funny Tito stories? Because I've heard he's mellowed since he had all the health stuff, and now he's come back, and he thinks he's a supermodel because he lost a couple pounds. Like, do you have any good stories? Because he had a history before he came to Cincinnati, and he kind of just got dropped right into that clubhouse.
Yeah, I think some of the best stories are stories from before he got here. There's definitely some stories about stuff that went on last year. I don't know if he wants me to share any of them, so I won't, being that I have a ton of respect for Tito. But yeah, he's a great time to have as a manager. He's obviously still super, super intense and wants to win, super competitive. And I'm incredibly grateful to have the chance to play for him. I mean, you can see with the way he goes about his business, how he communicates to every player in the clubhouse. You can see why he's going to end up in the Hall of Fame when he's done.
Emilio, can you explain to the crowd why your game, your style works in Cincinnati? I remember when you first signed with the Reds, and some analysts were like, "Oh, extreme fly ball line drive guy in Cincinnati. Why would the Reds, target a pitcher like this?" And then look at the year that you just came off of. It also helps when you strike out the world and you master the splitter a little bit more. But just wanted to get your take on why it's worked for you and what you've learned from pitching in that park and making yourself even better.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is I've stopped kind of buying into the fly ball thing. There was a couple years there in the middle of my career where I was trying to avoid the home run, and so I was throwing more off-speed pitches. I was trying to, get to the bottom of the zone a little bit more consistently. And from what I've experienced and found out, like, that leads to more homers for me. And so I stopped really worrying about the ball going in the air and just tried to pitch the way I pitched my whole life. I even as a kid, like, for some reason when I pitched on the mound, I just was able to command the top of the zone. It wasn't until, really a few years into my professional career with analytics that I found out why, with my, low approach angle and the carry on my fastball. And so it's good to have those numbers, but I've kind of stopped looking at all of it and just gone back to, I'm going to play baseball. I'm going to do what the game's telling me to do and not trying to overthink this. And I've found that when I try to get the hitter to swing at every pitch, that's when I'm my best. And so you're right. Great American Ballpark gives up some homers. I'm still going to give up homers. I'm not afraid to admit that. I know it's going to happen as part of the game, as part of my game. But I feel like if I just stay aggressive with my fastball, and you're right, Scott, the splitter has really opened up a lot of different ways for me to get hitters out. That's my best route to success, and so that's what I'm gonna stick with.
You also added a cutter, right?
So I've always thrown. I call it a cutter because I hold it like a cutter, but I'm not a great breaking ball thrower, and so I hold it like a cutter to get more of like a slider action. Every traditional slider grip I've tried, it just kind of pops out of my hand, and so no matter how much it moves, that if you can see it early, it's a bad pitch, and so. Every time I tried to throw a traditional slider, it was an easy take out of hand or it was really loud, and that's not good for pitchers. And so I hold it as a cutter, and I've done that since probably middle of 2019 until now.
Got it. No WBC for you this year? You played the last couple of times for Puerto Rico?
Yeah.
Couldn't get insurance or?
No, I guess the insurance thing is new, or if it's not new, I did a poor job of looking into it. I've never had insurance for the WBC, at least not that I'm aware of. No, just being that I'm turning 35 this year, the Reds have invested a lot in me. I feel like we've got a chance to be a special team. I just didn't feel good about going back and playing.
That's fair.
I've told the guys with Puerto Rico, like, I'm obviously super, super thankful for my time. I've represented them 3 times now, back in 2015 in the Premier 12, and then the WBC the last 2 times. And I've said this a number of times. I don't think without the WBC in 17, I have the career that I've had. I was not on the radar. I was not a top prospect. I wasn't even invited to Major League Camp that year with Seattle. And so that WBC definitely changed the path of my career, and I'm forever grateful for that. I just felt like it was my time to kind of step away and let another young guy that was in my shoes have a shot at it.
Let me clear one thing up. So anyone that's playing in the WBC does have insurance, whether you know it or not. It gets covered by the tournament. You do probably some type of intro physical at some point, leading up to that tournament. So my last question on this is, it was a big deal when we found out that many of the players representing Puerto Rico that did want to be there this year couldn't because of insurance issues. So, what are your feelings when you have such an affinity to Puerto Rico and they're going to get to host games? And hey, they've still got some talent on there. It's not like there's nobody.
Yeah,
it's just
absolutely.
that you're missing some key players. And actually, some of them ended up getting hurt anyway, like Lindor, who ends up getting hurt. The insurance part doesn't matter. But just your thoughts on, how Puerto Rico feels about, missing some of their key guys.
Yeah, I mean, number one, it sucks. If you would have told me that group we had in 17, over the course of our career, we weren't going to win the WBC, I would have told you were crazy. I thought for sure we were going to win one. Not saying that they can't win it this year, but a lot of the main guys, you're right, aren't going to be there. And Puerto Rico baseball, there's plenty of talent on that island. They're going to be just fine. It'll be names that maybe guys don't know yet. One of them in our clubhouse, Edwin Arroyo. This kid is a stud, and he's going to be a really good player for a long time. And so I've already been on him about, I saw Edwin Diaz already has his hair, bleach blonde. And so I'm on Edwin here, Arroyo, to get his hair bleached. But he's got a lot of hair. So
He does. I saw him in there.
I'm not sure he's looking forward to that, but yeah, Puerto Rico baseball is going to be fine. It is sad for the Puerto Rican Baseball Federation and for the island, for the fans, that a lot of their big name guys aren't going to be playing, but it's a chance for the guys that maybe are not as well known to show how talented they are, because there's plenty of good players on that roster still.
Yeah, good point. Next Emilio could emerge there, where all of a sudden, he has a breakout, and then you see him in the WBC, and then you see him in MLB. Emilio, thank you so much for joining us. Always really, really appreciate the time and the conversation. Good luck this season. We'll talk to you soon.
Yeah, thanks, guys. Appreciate you having me on.
Emilio Pagán is featured in Slap Pants, by the way. Gotta love that. He also gets talked about frequently in Riverfront territory, part of the FT network. C. Trent Rosecrans, Danny Graves, and a lot of Reds talk. So if you enjoyed this episode, there's a lot more from those two. They know what they're talking about, and they're watching every Reds game. I'm also wearing that beautiful logo today, Riverfront territory t-shirts. They look good. Go check them out. Hot Sheet coming up. 3 o'clock Eastern time. We're going to stop down a few minutes early and get ready for that. So check it out on the Baseball America YouTube channel. We take you there on its new time, Tuesdays, 3 o'clock. And this tour is just getting started. AJ, take us through it. So we finished up Reds camp today, and thank you so much to the Reds for hosting us and some of the players for joining us, along with Terry Francona. You've got Cubs camp tomorrow, and that's your last camp in Arizona, right? And then we're going to see you in Florida.
Yes. I have to go home
Pierzynski?
on Wednesday.
Hold on.
I'm here. Do I not have a mic? Mark, turn me
I
off.
No, you do. We got you. We got you back on.
Yeah, I have to go home. I have some family obligations this weekend, so I have to leave Wednesday night. And then I think Kip is coming in. Kipnis is coming in to take over for Giants Diamondbacks, and he gets to spend his time in Scottsdale. I was out in Goodyear and Glendale and Surprise, but Kip comes in just for Scottsdale. He went to ASU for a second, so he's big in the Scottsdale area. What can I say?
Scottsdale is a fun area.
And you have to stay around because of how much you hate the Cubs. Ugh. And somehow
the Cubs. Stop. The Cubs apparently
fans
are rolling out the red carpet for me tomorrow. We'll see. I heard they're going to have like ballpark food for me. They're going to put me by the tailgater, so maybe an adult beverage. So the Cubs, I give them credit so far. We'll see if they come through, but they're rolling out the red carpet.
All we want
is
players.
Win you over. Yeah. Players, that too, but they might win AJ over. Who knows? That'll be fun. All right, Kratz hats, and then we're getting out of here a few minutes early. It'll take a lot. Yeah.
I mean, if it couldn't have been more of an obvious hat today, my Reds hat. Need to wear it. Bunch of good dudes on that team. It'll be interesting to see how the Central pulls out.
Yep. Thanks again to the Reds. Cubs camp Wednesday. And to everyone that's been enjoying the tour, we put a lot into it. Everybody does. So if you'd like to leave us a comment before, during, or after what you're watching, or drop us a question or a guest request, we'll take it all. We love you, FT fam. Spring training tour continues.
And also, Scott, one more thing.
Wednesday.
Go to Fastenal.com and check it out, because without them, this would not be possible. So let's not forget that Fastenal is a sponsor. Got us here, has done a lot for us. So Fastenal.com. whatever you need to fix around your house or to help your car or to help you anything in your garage, Fastenal kind of has it.
Or those big construction projects, right? If you're in that
Pelican cases, stuff like that. They have all that stuff.
Exactly. Fastenal's your spot. There it is, fastenal.com. And they are engineering our spring training tour. See you Wednesday.